Are you lonely right now? I rarely reach out to people anymore, especially after going through the lowest point of my business and hitting that wall with weight loss. Not because I don't have friends, it's simpler than that. Somewhere in the middle of talking, I'll feel it. These words are landing nowhere. They dissolved the moment they leave my mouth. It's not the other person's fault. Expecting to be truly heard itself is a kind of leak. No matter what you pour in, it drains out. So I stopped forcing it. If someone's on the same frequency, the conversation happens naturally. If not, I let it go. I didn't decide to become this way. Something settled deep inside over the years. And what you see now grew out of that. It wasn't always like this. There was a stretch of years when things moved, business moved, judgment was sharp, people wanted to be close. It felt like being chosen by something larger than yourself. There's an old saying, when the tide rises, heaven and earth move with you. I believed I was in that tide. What I didn't expect was the second half of that saying. When the tide turns, even a hero cannot swim free. The descent wasn't dramatic, no single moment of collapse. It was water slowly leaking from a container. You can't find the crack, but the level keeps dropping. Just when you think it's over, a small order comes in and you survive another month. That's the cruelest part. Not the fall itself, the endless almost. Looking back, solitude was always the baseline. Even in better years, I was regularly flying alone to visit overseas clients, setting up a trade show by myself, coordinating after-sales issues in foreign countries without backup. I was young enough then to still believe that finding someone to walk alongside was realistic. That belief took a while to let go of. Then came the moment that made it undeniable. German exhibition. A former colleague had started his own factory. When he heard I'd gone out on my own as a solo trade agent, he came to me full of energy. Strategic, partnership, shared resources, big plans. We agreed to exhibit together at a trade show in Europe. I booked a booth, paid up front, prepared everything. He didn't show up. Something came up, he said. The truth was simpler. Flying to Europe and paying for a trade show isn't cheap. And when it came down to it, that was his call to make. I understood. But I'd already paid for the booth, so I went anyway. 14 days in Germany alone. No product samples. You can't exactly ship a production line to a trade show. So I bought a suitcase packed with the catalogs. I'd designed myself. A projector I'd specially bought for the occasion, and a video footage of machinery running at full capacity that I'd personally shoot with the camera at a factory back home before I left. I stood at the booth every single day, smiled, exchanged cards, listened carefully to every person who walked in. Every handshake felt like a door that might open. That chapter feels like another lifetime now. Back home, I kept pushing, chasing suppliers, vetting products, putting real money into deals that went nowhere. Suppliers was always polite, always promising. Bring us overseas clients, we'll give you the best price. Long-term partnership is easy. We have resources. None of it materialized. And then it got worse. I brought an actual international client to a factory, negotiated technical specifications, confirmed production timelines, got everything aligned. Right at the moment of signing, the supplier reached out to my client directly behind my back, trying to cut me out entirely. I was the one who opened the door. I ended up the most unnecessary person in the room. Trust in international business is worth more than anything else. And it breaks faster than anything else. Once it's gone, there's no explanation that fixes it. Some factories wonder why they can never crack overseas market. Ask foreign buyers they've dealt with. The answer is usually sitting right there. I don't hold it against them. But that period burned something clean. The Taoist concept of subtracting and subtracting until nothing remains. That's what those years felt like. The illusions went, the expectation went, the warmth toward crowds cold. What was left was small, but it was real and it belonged entire to me. Somewhere in all of this, I looked in that mirror and barely recognized myself. The weight had crept. Stress, internal drain, the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from working hard, but from working hard toward worse. But standing on the scale one morning, something shifted. The business, supplier, clients, deals falling through. None of that was falling in my control. But this body was mine. Weight was one of the few things left where that I put in actually came back to me. So I started. No trainer, no program. I applied the same professional mindset I used in business. Track the data, understand the input, build a system that fits my specific body. The number on the scale began to move, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had my hands back on something real. Then the plateau hit. Months of nothing. The scale stopped moving despite doing everything right. Holidays came, family dinners happened, and the numbers bounced back. Once, twice, more than twice. But here what the earlier years had quietly built in me. I stopped collapsing onto my self-punishment. No, you are worthless, you failed again. Just start over. Quietly, no announcement, no drama. Find your way back to yourself without making a performance on it. I bought heavier dumbbells, started to do HIIT and strength training alone in my living room. Following videos, sometimes laying flat on the floor for several minutes before I could get up. No one watching, no one clapping, just me knowing. Running became a daily practice, not for love of it, but because moving kept the noise in my head quieter. 8, 9 kilometers, legs burning, not stopping because stop meant facing everything waiting on the other side. Finish, stand on the side of the road, catch my breath. No victory feelings. Just down, walk home, sleep. Then something unexpected happened. The joint arc I'd been pushing through began to disappear. The body started speaking differently. It was saying, you choose correctly. Whatever force governs this world seems to be favor people who take themselves seriously. The plateau, I eventually understood, wasn't my body resisting me. It was my body waiting to see if I was serious. It needed time to confirm I wasn't another 3-week attempt. I had to outlast it. I learned when nothing moves on the outside, something is always shifting on the inside. The rewiring happens in the dark. Out of all of this, 3 things become clear. The first thing I figured out was about other people. I used to sort everyone, trustworthy or not, good or bad. After enough experience, I realized that the sorting itself was the mistake. People aren't good or bad. People are shaped by their circumstance. The old friend who undercut me in front of my client, the suppliers who took without giving, the people who sent "Hang in there" and disappeared. They weren't villains. They weren't making the choices that made the most sense from where they were standing. Buddhist philosophy puts it this way. Don't place yourself at the center of everyone else's story. Most of what people do has nothing to do with you. It's about their own pressures, their own survival. Once I saw that clearly, the resentment dissolved. Not forgiveness exactly, something more useful, accurate vision. You start being surprised by human nature, and that surprise was costing you more than you knew. The second thing I figured out was about myself. The biggest discovery wasn't that others couldn't be relied on. It was that I was more reliable than I'd ever given myself credit for. Exhibition alone, business with no support, with plateau with no coach. Every single time I was certain I was finished. I wasn't. Not because of exceptional willpower, because there was no exit. When the path behind you closes, you move forward. There's no courage, there's just a mess. When you stop reaching outside yourself for proof that you exist, you become very hard to shake. That's not something you developed in quiet reflection. It gets built under pressure, whether you read it or not. The stability you find on the other side of that, it doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. That's the only kind of worth having. The third thing, and the hardest, was about difficulty itself. For a long time, I saw the hard years was waste, time lost, energy spent on the wrong things. But difficulty has structure. It's doing something to you even when you can't see it. The Taoist philosopher Zhuangzi wrote about moving through the world in communication with something larger than human noise. I used to read that as arrogance. Now I understand it differently. When every external support falls away, you discover a connection to something that doesn't depend on any of it. You stop needing the echo of the crowd because there's enough sound inside. And when you are completely cornered, you go calm because you've seen what the bottom actually looks like. It's not endless. It ends. You know that now. Last year, an overseas client came to me needing a second-hand production line. I connected him with a supplier I'd known for years. An old friend. Complete trust. Didn't think twice. Verified the equipment myself. Flew the client in to finalize. Right at the moment of signing, my old friend looked at my client and said the line in front of them wasn't the one we'd discussed. One sentence. Everything gone. The order, the client, the relationship. A few weeks later, he messaged asking if I had any more overseas clients to refer. I stared at it for a while, didn't reply. Not out of anger, just nothing left to say. That kind of a disappointment used to sit in me for a long time. Now it moved through quickly. Not because I'd gone numb, but because the center of the gravity had shifted permanently. It lives inside me now, not in what other people do or don't do. Other people's choices became simply less important. I walk alone now, not because I was born preferring solitude. It's that the rain came and no one held an umbrella, so I learned to be the umbrella. Sun is good, rain is fine, you get wet, you keep walking. The only thing you ever truly control is yourself. But when you actually achieve that, when you stop outsourcing your stability to circumstance and other people, you find it's more than enough, more than you imagine possible. If you ever swallowed something heavy alone in the middle of the night, not even particularly sad, just tired, the kind of tired that has nowhere to go, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. That time wasn't consuming you. It was forging you. What's been through fire is what's built to last.